As with any new content format, it helps to look at every part of the creation process. Here we go. A web story's lifecycle, or what I call the story loop, has 5 distinct parts. From a web creator perspective, you'll shift focus to another activity for each. These activities are source, create, publish, monetize, and optimize. After watching this episode, I hope you'll have a good sense of how web story creation works in practice. Let's get started. Before sitting down and creating your story, you need to do your homework to find a concept, write a compelling story arc, and source creative assets, like I did for my story Paul's Holiday at Home. Some of these sample tasks include shooting or sourcing required video and imagery, doing an interview that makes the base for the story, research a news story or topic, prep a list of research places for a travel listicle, crop and optimize media to fit the vertical orientation of web stories, and figure out monetization opportunities. Good preparation is key. Web stories are only as good as their content. Now that you've done your prep work, there are 3 popular ways to build a story. With a visual editor, generated automatically from a content source, or coded from scratch. Creating a story with a visual editor is the best option for most web creators. These editors require no coding skills, and pages can be dragged together and configured similar to a design tool. Some of these are readily available on external platforms, some exist for your CMS of choice. Content platforms like TikTok, Pixiv, Twitter and so on might instead invest in an automated pipeline that generates web stories based on their content repository. Popular fan art website Pixiv, for instance, automatically creates daily stories with their most popular fan art. And yes, it's also possible to code web stories entirely from scratch, like a regular website. This can be a good option if you're technical and not afraid to touch HTML and CSS, and if you need a highly customized story, one that would be hard to impossible to build with off-the-shelf solutions. For the purpose of this YouTube series, I'll assume most of you will choose the visual editor route, but most advice should be relevant regardless. Contrary to their native counterparts, web stories are not published to an app or platform, like Instagram for instance. Instead, web stories work like web pages. They don't expire and stay around as long as you desire, and they live on your own domain and server of choice. Here's what the publishing process looks like. Some editors handle some of these steps automatically, but it's still worthwhile to call them out. Create yourself a pre-published checklist and put the following to-dos on it. Attach the right metadata, so it can be featured by platforms like Google Discover. Preview across a variety of screens and apps. Compress the output, that means minifying the HTML for instance, or compressing video and imagery. And add analytics. None of these are strictly necessary, but will give your web story a much better chance at success. If you already have a website and you're using an editor that is integrated into your website's CMS, like Web Stories for WordPress for example, then you're all set. If you're instead using an editor not connected to your own site, you might have to upload the code generated by the editor directly to your web server, or live with the fact that the story is published on the domain of the editor, unless there's a special support for a custom domain mapping, for instance with Make Stories. Web stories are standalone experiences that can live on their own, but linking and embedding them in a variety of places optimizes SEO and drives additional traffic beyond content discovery platforms like Google Discover. For example, you could link from an existing story to new stories, link to or embed a story from a related web article or blog post, or show newly published stories in a highlight reel on your homepage. The possibilities are endless. Now that your story is out there, if you're a professional web creator, you might want to monetize it. Advertising is a lengthy topic, so I will cover that one in an upcoming episode. But if you include a lot of video in your stories, consider product placements and endorsements, similar to how you might make a brand deal on a video platform like YouTube. And if you're linking to third-party products for sale, most e-commerce shops offer a link affiliate program. So say you've done everything on this list so far and your stories still don't attract the audience you're after.
Ah man, I thought I'd be famous by now.
That's perfectly normal. Very few find immediate success without a strong cycle of optimization. In this final step of this life cycle of a story, it's time to look at the analytics. For example, using Google Analytics and take learnings to optimize the next story. Or of course the current one if there's time. Just to get you started, take a look at measuring story completion, meaning how many of your users have reached the final page. Then look at the effectiveness of your outbound links, find out how many use the page attachments to dive deeper, and measure the average load time and correlate it with abandonment rates. There's no hard and fast rule to this. If analytics sounds intimidating, keep in mind that you can publish stories without ever looking at them. Everything in the optimization cycle is optional, but the most successful web creators invest time and energy in this step. And that's it. From here on, it's rinse and repeat, and after a while, this life cycle will take less and less time and feel completely natural to you. Onwards.